Sawtooth Dave, what's up, y'all? How y'all been? Well, everybody's putting videos out for the whole Blade Show experience, debriefing, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But obviously, I missed a video last week, and y'all know I can talk, so I think we're probably gonna break this down into two videos, kind of around the Blade Show. One's gonna be more focused on the knives, the other one's gonna be more focused on the experience. Okay, makes sense to me because I think I could probably ramble at least 20 minutes on both. So this year when I went to Blade Show, I kind of sort of had a plan in mind. My plan after doing the collection video was kind of like, I want to get more thumb stud knives. I just realized when I did that collection video that I really enjoy thumb studs, that I don't have a whole lot of thumb stud knives. Not like, predominantly I have less thumb stud knives, which is kind of weird because honestly one of my favorite opening methods, traditionally anyhow. So I was like, I wanted to focus on thumb studs. And then secondly, I was like, I really didn't have a ton of money available. I mean, I have some, but I was going to use it for other funds. Gonna was the key word here. Or I was going to use it for other things. So two plans that I had that pretty much failed. So I had got a Damjin, which I'll go over. I'll just briefly show you, but I've sold it on Instagram. The little Damjin Saurus. I had got one of these prior to Blade Show, actually from a brother in Canada. It's the first time I bought a knife from somebody in Canada. Right before Blade Show, and then my Rogovitz XR3 Custom was up, and he had messaged me about 3 weeks before the show, said he was going to finish it, like the finishes of the knife, this coming week, and then ship it the following week. So I gave him my father's address, thinking he's going to ship it there because it should have been there. You know, if he shipped it, it would have had at least a week to get there. It didn't work because he didn't have the right box, so he didn't send it. So like, if he'd have messaged me that, I'd have just told him to send it. I didn't care. My plan was to go to Blade Show with two new knives. Like, I had these two new knives that I was just going to take with me, and I'd be good. Like, wouldn't have the temptation, because, you know, when you go there, you want something new. That was my plan going in. Second part of that plan that didn't work out, I wasn't going to take a whole lot of money. So when I got to my pop's house, you know, it's the house I grew up in, so like all familiarity, all that other stuff. But since my mom's been gone, my dad kind of squirrels cash away. You know, every time he gets cash, he just kind of sticks it in the safe, And I mentioned to him that I was going to go to the ATM. He's like, well, let me just give you some cash. So, you know, I asked to borrow a little bit, and he gave me a lot. So you got the cash in hand, you're going to spend it, as I did at Blade Show. So two major things right away. All right, so as far as actually going to the show, actually, one more thing real quick. So Pop had just bought a brand new truck, and he's telling me just take his truck to the show. And if you've ever been to the show or any major event, you know, you're parking in garages, they ain't got a whole lot of space in between vehicles, so you can see somebody opening a door into a brand new truck. I mean, that truck's less than a month old. I ain't driving that, sorry, man. So he has a motorcycle, so he let me borrow his Harley, and so that was the best way to get there for me. Like, you know, I guess going to it, it's not like you have anxiety, but you know, lots of stuff swirled around your head. When you're on a motorcycle, all that stuff goes away. You just enjoy the ride. So it was like perfect. I just took that. When I got there, I was like, oh shit, I'm here already. I ain't thought about nothing yet, which was perfect. That's exactly how I wanted to be. Okay, so two things I did this year at the show that were different than any other show I've been to before is I decided to take classes this show, and also decided to get the early bird pass this year. It just so happens that it kind of overlapped in a somewhat of a bad area, because the first class I had started at 8 o'clock. Well, the line, you know, to get into the Blade Show, you can't go in and out of. They don't let you do that. So there's no holding places or nothing. So I couldn't be in line, even though I was there an hour and a half earlier. I couldn't hold my place in line and, you know, go to the class. It worked out. It's fine, but like, you know, that something to think about in the future. Don't be an idiot like me and schedule a class when you're supposed to be standing in a line to get in. But let's just go over into the classes, I guess, first. Because I don't think I've heard anybody really else on YouTube mention the classes, at least anybody I follow anyhow. So the first class I took was Intro to Grinding. And the first thing that was a kind of a cluster about that is when you go in, because they let me in the building at 8 to try to figure out what this class is, because it's not like they said it online, hey, meet us here. It's just classes at 8. if you'd never been there before, you'd have been clueless. Like the organization of that was dumb. They really should have online said, "Hey, meet here for this class," and it would have been way easier. So anyway, went to will call. You know, I got my early bird pass, my 3-day pass, and nobody there on staff knew where the class was. So they say basically, it's in this back hallway. Some of these rooms, this is in one of those rooms. So there's like 3 or 4 of us walking the hallways trying to find it. We start seeing the same look in each other's eyes. I'm like, "You looking for this class?" "Yeah." "You looking for this class?" "Yeah." So we all kind of got together as a group. You know, we're, you know, the guys on the staff are on CBs kind of tell each other, trying to figure out where we're at. Nobody had a clue. Luckily, somebody that works for the hotel, because the hotel and the Galleria are kind of separate employees, I'm assuming. Somebody from the hotel overheard us talking, and they said, "Give me a second, I'll find out for you." So they went to the hotel management, which they knew more than the staff that worked for Blade Show, said, "Hey, y'all need to be outside on the tent that's in the parking lot." I mean, I'd seen this tent on videos, but how was I supposed to know to be there? Like, it's nowhere near where I was supposed to be. So it was kind of weird. So we were about 25 minutes late to the show. To the lecture, which really sucks. It was supposed to be like an hour and a half, I think. So we basically missed a third of it. So I have no clue what happened with that first third of it. But we got there, he had basically just barely started grinding. So it was a dude from Cole, I think is the name of the company. They do a lot of like blacksmithing style and like an induction forge and stuff that I'm not really interested. But the grind and the knives, what you're focused on. So the way the class was set up, he was kind of like in one corner under the tent, and all these stadium bleachers, I guess is what they say, but they're steel bleachers, were all kind of lined up. But he was a far corner, and all the bleachers kind of went away. So he wasn't in the middle where everybody could see better. So that was the first thing that was kind of like negative. They said you could get up and kind of go over there, but you know, there 4 or 5 guys, there's no more places to see. You're just looking over someone else's shoulder at the machine. You're not actually seeing what he's doing. So the setup was kind of a little, as far as like what he taught. So basically they handed us all out these, this is the mild steel blank, but this is what he ground in class, is like one of these, but it's mild steel. So, you know, no matter what you do, it's never going to be a real, a good knife. You can make it look pretty, but it's basically just there for practice. Cheap steel that they just laser cut out and gave everybody. But he basically went through how his process was. So while I didn't learn a whole lot about grinding in this class, I've learned a lot about what the actual guy who was grinding this process was, because he really couldn't see what he was doing. He was just explaining it to you, and then they hand around a little demo, and you could kind of sort of see the, you know, evolution of what he was talking about. But as far as actually seeing what he was doing and learning something from the actual class, like you don't know anything about grinding and you're trying to learn it, I don't really think it was that good for that class. Like you can watch YouTube videos and get more out of the YouTube videos. But like, for instance, like what he did was he hollow ground it first to remove material, and then he came back behind it and flat ground. So that's like something me personally I would have never have done. Like I would have just, you know, roughed it to, you know, a little bit thicker with the same flat and then went on. But he never really explained his methods of why he did stuff. You just had to assume stuff. But I'm assuming he did that because he is oil quenching he does a lot of oil quench steels. So the material will be thinner at the edge where you could get a good heat treat on the edge and not so much worried about the rest of the knife. He's cold forged or whatever, forging the temperature up and then just drop it in oil. I'm assuming that's what he did that for. He never explained that, but that's like little stuff like that. Like if you had no clue about knife making, you probably would have got lost in the class and honestly probably confused. So it's more like, they call it intro, but to me it's more like a novice style knife class is what they taught. And yeah, I learned some of his techniques, but like actually physically learning how to grind, I didn't really get anything out of that. As far as like learning any more skills or anything like that, or seeing anything he did that was like different or unusual, revolutionary for me. So that's the first class. That was the first day 1. So I'll just tell you through we'll just go in chronological order because I'm gonna get all messed up if I don't kind of keep it that way. That was the only class I had day 1, but it ran to like, I think 30 minutes before the actual early bird got in there. So as I get done, 30 minutes, you can look around and like as you're standing, you can see the parking lot, the line, it kind of formed at the doors, kind of sort of to my left, and went all the way across, all the way down the parking lot, started looping back around. So there was absolutely no point in me getting in that line. Like, why? For like 10 different spots. I get in 10 spots earlier. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go sit in the AC, watch the line. When the line starts moving, I'll just kind of come over, meander on over. So that's exactly what I did. It worked out perfectly. So I watched time-wise. It was about 20 minutes. maybe slightly over 20 minutes from the time that first person that got there at like Monday or whoever that was that got there super early got in to when I got in. I was one of the very last people, because there was actually general admission trying to cram their way in there, which they won't let them in, but they tried. Those people had to get kicked out of the line before I could even get through. So that's how far in the back I was. I'm saying maybe, let's call it 25 minutes tops, right? That I was from the very first person to me. But in that 25 minutes, man, they sold a ton of people sold tons. Everything that was hot seemed to be going quick. So on the way in there, I was kind of thinking two things that I really wanted to see, like early, to see if they still had, kind of thing. One was Miller Brothers and one was Dario from Direct Steel. So I was like, Direct's not really super popular with like the masses, and I figured if anything, he'd probably have something left, right? But I was worried about Miller Brothers because I knew the expense of what Miller Brothers were. But I saw that they carried a lot more T1s this year than they did the last 2 years. Like last 2 years at 10 or 15, they'd gone before you even got in. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try Miller Brothers, because kind of knew where it was. Their layouts, they've been in the same spot for the last at least 3 years. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to shoot for Miller Brothers and see what happens. So like I said, 20, 25 minutes in, maybe at the most, I went straight back there. I had the last plain Jane on the table was what I ended up getting. And I'll just briefly show you the knife. But man, I way overpaid. Instant buyer's remorse as far as the amount of money I spent. But look at that bruiser, man. Look at this thickness. Jeez, what a big knife. And you could talk to anybody that was there with Blade, Will, Denise, anybody that was there that saw this knife and saw me. Like, they saw the look on my face. I was like, I just cannot believe I spent that kind of money on that knife. Like, it was kind of ridiculous. So at that point, I'm in kind of a buyer's remorse. So I was kind of like, I guess I spent that much money. I wasn't planning on taking that kind of money, you know. So, you know, just like people talk about their wives being an enabler. In this particular case, my pop was my enabler because he gave me a wad of cash that I didn't want to take. If I didn't take that cash, I wouldn't have bought that. I wouldn't have been interested in it at night. But interestingly enough, that was the last PJ he had. He had 4 more other knives in like a case. And they started at 38 and went to like 58 or something like that. So they were like high dollar. They were Damascus and all the fancier stuff, if you're familiar with Miller Brothers. Beautiful work, but like not my kind of knife and just way too fancy for me. Anyhow, the PJ is more me. Y'all know that. If you watch this any kind of my videos, y'all know that I'm definitely more of the simple stuff. And even at that one, like I was a little bit on the, I don't know if I like this, I don't know if I like that. But there was literally a dude right behind me that was willing to buy that knife. As soon as I put it down, he was going to claim it. So like, you know, like he said, if that guy don't want it, I'm going to buy it. If I'd have put the knife down, I'd have lost it for sure. So, you know, I guess that pressure of it maybe at the show was a little something. But the old adage of buy once, cry once. So I cried. I definitely cried. I cried a lot about how much money I spent on that. But I'm extremely happy with the actual knife. So, you know, in a year from now, I might remember how much I paid for it. But I'm still going to enjoy that knife. It's a cool-ass knife. So that was my first purchase. And at that point, I was kind of like, ooh, I need to slow myself down because like I just blew a wad of cash. I got the rest of the weekend to go, and here it is, like, you know, 30 minutes into the show. I was like, so let's just make a lap, because I know like my bro Steve's always into Striders, and I know a lot of people are into Striders, so they go quick. So I was like, I'm just gonna make a lap over there to see what's going on. The first thing I seen is Jason McCoy's working that booth, and I was like, why is Jason? If y'all don't know Jason, like, so I'm not like buds with him, but I've been talking with Jason since his son was like 12 or 13 at that first show. I ended up buying an SMF off one of their good friends, and like, so like Jason was the Microtech rep. I don't really know who he works directly for now. He worked for a couple booths there, but he was at Strider, so I guess we recognize each other, put it that way. So like fist bump Jason, just to see what they had left. The Strider booth was insane, and it looked like to me there was 3 knives left 30 minutes in. I'm guessing somewhere around that like. And, you know, tons of people in line. So, like, even if I would have got in line, I wouldn't have got one of those knives 30 minutes in. So, you pretty much got to get in and go to Strider if you want a Strider. And it looked to me like, and I'm not 100% sure, you guys that are into Striders probably know what was there before I would, but they looked like Performance Series to me. They didn't even look like Customs. Maybe they were, I don't know. But they looked like Performance Series to me. Don't know for sure. But they were definitely more of the same kind of, and all the ones I saw from the people that were walking around showing them all look Performance Series to me. I don't know. Maybe there were Customs, I didn't see them. Dwyer was right next to him. Dwyer had quite a few knives, but you know, those guys approach shows differently. So like, I'm not saying that I would or wouldn't if I was one of those guys, but they're over there. They're drinking, they're having a fun, they're partying, they're having a good time, which is all fine and good. It's up to them. But personally, I don't want to be around that, especially at 10:30 in the morning. I don't want to be around, hey, you want a shot? But no, I'm good, man. Like, so I just didn't even really pay attention to Dwyer after that. Like, pretty much every time I saw him, he had a drink in his hand. Which, hey, man, it's all, like I said, you represent yourself however you want to. I make no judgment. But I haven't had drink in years, and like, quite honestly, like I'm not afraid to be around it. I just don't want to be around when someone's actively trying to get drunk, and that's what it kind of seemed like to me. So I just avoided that at that point. But the other thing I noticed about the early bird walking around, like, you can get t-shirts and hats. I think I walked out that first day with like three or four hats and like 9 t-shirts. I got a ton of free stuff that first day. Some of it I had to buy, but ton of free stuff that first day. So if you just look at it, like, early bird's like $65, I think, more than what it costs to get in a normal 3-day pass, something like that. Like, if you got 6 shirts at $10 a piece, you paid for your early bird. One way of looking at it. So, if you go to the show and you don't mind, paying the little extra, you probably get the freebies. I can't say that you wouldn't get them if you come in general admission and went straight to those booths, but like, if you just go general admission and look for a knife for an hour and then come around those booths, they might be out of shirts and hats. So I don't know. I just feel like I got way more swag this year on the early bird thing than I would have. So I was basically, from there, I was kind of meandering, right? I kind of sort of knew who I wanted to see and that stuff. So I kind of, after I went through Strider out, meandered over to Dario's booth. He was still recovering from being sick. I think he was sick, like he said, 10 days or something before the show. He'd been sick. So, and I've heard other people mention something about COVID, but I didn't see anybody get sick or hear anybody get sick. Like, none of the people I went with that I know of got sick. So maybe it was there, and maybe we just didn't get exposed to it. I don't know. But in any case, like, it wasn't like mass spread or nothing like that. So if someone's worried about, oh my God, everybody that went there got sick, like, I don't know anybody that got sick. I don't know anybody there that was feeling bad. So, like, I don't know. Anyhow, Dario brought some heat, and if I wouldn't have bought that Miller, I'd have definitely bought another Dirac Steel. Let me see. In case you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm just going to show you the sticker. So, Dirac Steel, Dario. Younger than I expected it would be. He was a younger guy than I expected to be. And his actually English is pretty damn good. But everybody that hadn't heard of him, like Will, Denise, Dan, my brothers, everybody that was hanging around, palling around with, walking around, I took everybody by there that I could, because like, his work was phenomenal. And his higher end, like, blingy stuff, like the Damascus and the Damascus mixed stuff, like the higher end stuff that I don't really care about, all kind of went. But like his solid work that I like personally, like, it kind of remained. There wasn't as many people interested in that, which I was surprised at. Like, I figured he'd sell at day one, to be honest with you, because quality is nice. You can walk around there, and it's all opinionated, right? But you can walk around there, and like, there were knives that were almost double the price of his that weren't the quality of his. Like, he does really nice work. Anywho, I'd already have a deposit down for a custom knife from him. So the cool thing about Dario is you can change your mind about what knife you want, but at the time it comes up, you basically putting your deposit. You are putting it on a knife, but you can change your mind and change options when you get there. So my spot's supposed to be like September, I think. So I already had that deposit put down. So that's the reason I didn't go there first and buy one of his knives first versus the Miller. I was like, I already got a custom knife in the work. I can just wait and get exactly what I want then. Because everything he brought, except for the two Toucan 2XLs, there was two Toucan 2XLs that I absolutely would have bought. Both of them were awesome. Both of them weren't 100% me, but really, really, really close. Like, if y'all saw them, y'all would be like, yeah, it's a Dave knife. And that's kind of what I like. I like a little bit outside my box to let the maker do what he wants to do, but then still in my zone. That's kind of how I like to buy a knife. So anyhow, walked around, t-shirts, everything like that. I'm saying I'm starting to notice now that the rush is coming in from, I think it's 30 minutes in, they let the customer appreciation pass people in, and you kind of start seeing a little more flood of people coming in. It's all kind of happening fast. I'm trying to rationalize what's going on. So I knew after that, like, within 10 to 15 minutes, the whole major rush of general admissions is going to come in. So you really have an opportunity when you get there early to go around quicker without getting in as much people in the way. When that line, when them people start coming in, like, it's a flood, like literally like a tidal wave of people. But anyway, so before that actual hit, I was like, I knew my brother Beard Doom had a knife, and he had been working on the design. I've talked to him about it. Just give me 1 second to get a drink of coffee here. My throat's getting dry. That's one thing that happens at the show too. You lose your voice. There's so much talking you do there. But I knew Beard Doom would had designed a knife. I knew it was kind of funky. I'd seen it before and stuff like that. But man, I gotta go support my brother, so I gotta go see Beard Doom. And his knife is manufactured by Keto, which I never even heard of Keto. Like I'm not into the, as Will would say, the dark side. I'm not into the dark side knives, the imports from China, as you know, as much as some of the other people like Bruisers. There's not a whole lot of Bruisers from these Chinese companies, but they're realizing that there's a market for those things, and they're starting to produce them. So you can start. I'm glad now, but like 3 years ago, you didn't see anything. If you were into Bruisers, there's like a handful of knives available at the show that you're kind of competing over the rest of the guys that like Bruisers. Now you're starting to see a little bit more variety, so you kind of see the separation of people who like the imports versus American, and who's going to spend the big coin like this dumbass did, and other stuff. So there's more variety. You get a chance to kind of experience more and see more at the show. But anyhow, I'm gonna go more into the knife in another knife video. I just wanted to basically go over that. I got a front flipper from Beard of Doom, and I can actually front flip it, believe it or not. So I'd met Kevin before at a previous Blade show. Fellow motorcycle rider, just cool dude in general. He always reminds me of my brother, and I actually got a chance to introduce him to my brother that he reminds me of later on that weekend on Saturday. But cool enough. When I went over there and snagged, this is called the Soul Stone by Keto. I'm gonna see if I can roll this in where you can actually see what that says. That says it right way. Is that the right way, or this is the right way? I can't even tell. So hopefully y'all see that brand, which I'd never heard of before the show. They have a lot of interesting little stuff. But anywho, what I was gonna say is I bought the first one, so I feel super special about that. I had Kev sign the box for me, so that like it didn't write number 1 or nothing like that, but he just wrote a little message there. But I was the first person to buy a Soul Stone, so I feel super happy that I was able to support a brother and buy a knife. So like I did that American Made video, previous to Blade Show. Unfortunately, I'm talking about this whole weekend is going to be talking about basically 7 knives, and only 3 of those were American Made, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Like so, dark side as far as China goes, there's 2 of them, so like they're still more American than China. So I know we had all went in that discussion, and I kind of did it on purpose because I kind of knew what I was getting into on the weekend. Like this one especially, like it's different. It's outside the box. This is a wild looking knife. This is a crazy looking knife. I've already used it a good bit, and with talking with Beard of Doom and stuff like that, like throwing ideas back and forth. Like he was, we're gonna do something with this. I'll probably end up modifying mine, sending it back to Kevin, let him check out, and then let him give me some feedback on what he likes or don't like about what I did. And I don't know, maybe in the future we'll do something together. But as far as like this knife, I think it was around the $400 mark. It's a super solid knife for $400. It's definitely a lighter bruiser, like it's on the lighter side compared to, like, say that T1, which this is a brick, so you can see like it's substantially thicker. So like there's not a whole lot thicker than a T1 out there. Although it's not like a super long knife either, like lengthwise. I don't know. We'll go into this knife video. I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry. But it's cool to hang with Beard Doom. Cool to support him. Cool to get the very first one. But side note on that Keto booth, because I went back there several times, but I had seen Dopey earlier. We were kind of BSing, and Dopey is actually doing work, I guess, with Keto. So he's doing anode work. A lot of what he does, like he's into the ones that I've noticed from him anyhow. Put it that way. I can't say he just does that, but he seems to be really good at the green and purple mixtures. So I don't know, Joker colors, I don't know, whatever that color combo you'd call it is. But he had actually did some nice for Keto. I guess he got them at Texas and then brought them back and displayed them here. And I don't think they were much more than the stock knives were. But man, dude, the dude's doing phenomenal anode work. So if you need anode work, I'm going to highly recommend you go see Dopey. If you don't know who I'm talking about, just look him up. He's on Instagram. He's easy to find. If you search Dopey, you'll find him, I'm sure. But I think it's more stuff other than that, like Grumpy Grunt. I don't know what Dopey's full name is, but ask somebody, you'll figure it out. But that was cool. I hung out over there, Kev, for a while, and then just kind of walked around the rest of the day. Funny enough, because I'm thinking like the rushes start. It's like a tidal wave of people to come in, then it kind of normalizes, and you kind of see the amount of people that are going to be there. About that time, Denise and Will both had texted me and like, you can't hear your phone, you can't see your phone. I just happened to pull my phone out. I was like, oh yeah, I probably should go meet those guys because if they get in here, like, well, we're probably not gonna be able to find them. So as I walk out the main, come around, there's stairs coming up. Here comes Will. We immediately both recognize each other, so like old bros or something. Like never met before in person. Like it felt like I'd known him for 20 years already. So like say hey to Will. We kind of walked around, did our thing, and like, you know, like you say this to a lot of people, like especially people who do the YouTube. Like some people might put on a front and try to act like they're something, but like most of the people you meet, like Will especially, like he sounds and acts just like he does in the videos. Like he's 100% him on a video. Matter of fact, his latest video, he was trying to pick his top 5. I was laughing because I could just picture myself sitting beside him and him doing that right beside us. It's awesome. Like just a cool dude to hang with. And we hung on and off that first day. He only went to one day. I think he was planning on going 2, but he only went to 1. But anyhow, me and Will walk around. He gets his ticket. We kind of come back around. As soon as we walk into they call it the baller room now, the smaller room. Denise is right there, so we get to meet Denise. Then we kind of get, Will kind of and I and Denise kind of got separated a little bit there. Denise and I were kind of talking. She wanted to borrow a kickstand, and I told her I'd bring it to the show, so I let her borrow it. But she only borrowed it for one night and gave it back because she wanted it. I wasn't really willing to sell that one, so you know, it was awesome. We got to hang out, walk around. So actually, Denise bought me this shirt. I can't remember if that's day 1 or day 2, Denise. But anyway, hanging out with Denise. So y'all heard her name several times on videos. Super cool to meet people that otherwise you'd only have conversations with on Instagram, right? So awesome. Awesome experience hanging out with pretty much, there's so many people that you meet and so many people that you see again, like old friends, new friends, that it all kind of, after a while, it kind of mixes together and you forget like who all you've seen and where you've seen them and all that stuff like that. So just an awesome experience for day 1. Absolutely wiped out towards the end of the day. And then I went by myself that first day. So like I didn't really have any plans after the 2 purchases I have and all the gear. Of course, you're keeping a backpack in there. So like my backpack's full. I really got no room for anything else. Like legit, like filled a backpack. And this, ironically, the bag that I brought my stuff on the airplane with to my dad's house. So as I'm leaving there, I'm like, what am I gonna do with all the stuff I just bought? Because this is the size bag that I got to go home. Like, how am I gonna get this stuff home? Am I gonna ship it home? Like, so immediately I'm like, I didn't even think this through at all. So it's kind of like one of those duh moments. But anyhow, as I'm kind of walking out, I run into the Edgy American, Grateful Panic, Grumpy Grunt, all them guys, Scott N, Iggy, Bees Blades, which I'd never met him before because, you know, he's kind of more on the budget side of things. But I kind of overheard, you know, talking, but Bees Blades is talking about we handled a CRK, just couldn't fathom the money that the CRK cost, and here I am holding a over $2,000 freaking Miller, like a dumbass. With, you know, I still have that wave of regret over me right now. And then I see Brother Ken walk up. And so Ken and I we talked because when he went to go get in the early bird line, he went past where the class was. He was near looking and I hollered at him. And so I kind of went back in line and talked to him at the beginning before he went in. So at the end, it's kind of cool to see him again. Like, sorry, it's the beginning, say at the end. He was equally as wiped out as I was. Will was actually spent. I think Will was like, I'm done, dude. I'm going to book an early flight. I'm going to go back home in the morning. Like, I thought it was funny because, like, if you don't know what to expect at Blade, dude, it's quite overwhelming. And you got to sort of have experienced it once to be able to, you know, do it the right way the next time, or at least a different way, plan a different way. I think every time I've gone, I've done it a little different, but this is definitely the day 1 was the most fun I had at day 1. Not only like acquiring the couple pieces I did acquire, all the t-shirts, all the people I met, all the stuff I got to see. It was just a really cool day 1, but Ken and I kind of went back, found an air-conditioned place with I'm gonna call it a couch, but it's like a bench seat, padded bench seat. We kind of sat there in a padded bench seat. I took inventory and we just kind of bullshitted about the day. I think I was so spent mentally that I could barely talk, and Ken seemed the same way. But basically, it got to a point where like they were about to throw us out, so we kind of meandered back. It took me like, I think it's like 45 minutes ish to get there in that morning. I went early, and Atlanta kind of wakes up later than what I'm used to here in Tucson. Tucson, like 6 o'clock in the morning, everybody's up and out, like pretty much for a work day. There, it seemed more like 7:30ish before it really got heavy traffic and that sort of thing. But anyhow, I got there early before all that traffic hit. But leaving there, yeah, I didn't expect it like 6:30. Well, they kicked us out basically 6:20ish. They were like, "Get the hell out of here," of the Galleria. So we both kind of were parked in about the same area. Like we're so spent that as we get back to the level, like I don't even realize where I'm going. Ken's like, "Aren't you on the other level?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he had to kind of redirect me. That's how mentally spent I was. And I'm about to get on a motorcycle, so I had to take a little second there and kind of get my brain screwed back on straight, drink a little water, and kind of get my bearings back on me. But as I did, I got back in the parking lot. It probably took 20 minutes to get outside the parking lot because it's a parking garage. And I was all the way down on the first level. Like literally, I was the first car in that parking lot that morning. As soon as they opened up, on the first one that pulled in, I might even gangstered my way in there because they didn't look like they were really ready to give me a ticket. I just pulled up and they're like, "Well, we can't do nothing with it. Just let him go." Anywho, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. 30 minutes and I ain't even got to day 2 yet. This is gonna be a fun one. It took me basically 2 hours to get home that night because the traffic was so bad. Like Atlanta traffic, like it was like as soon as it took me a while to get out of the parking lot. As soon as I got out of the parking lot, got on the highway, immediately traffic's backed up there. So it's just like a complete cluster. Like welcome back to Atlanta. It was just one of those things. Sorry, the cat just jumped on my lap, sir. It was just one of those things. It was fun, but like it reminded me of why I didn't like living in Atlanta. So like I grew up in Atlanta, so the south side of Atlanta more or less. So it reminded me of why I moved from there really quick. Like it's still fun, but like you had to remind yourself sometimes. So day 2, actually going to bed day 1, I was pretty well spent, man. I didn't know if I was gonna have the energy, and allergies were bad there for me too. Like this year, I guess maybe coming from the desert and going back to like pine trees and trees in general, like I had a lot of allergy kind of stuff going on. But it was like minor stuff, but just like, some of the aches and pains from flying too. It's just rough on the travel this year. But anywho, when I said on day 1, my pop's like, "You gonna wake up early and go again in the morning?" I was like, "I probably will, but if I feel like this in the morning, I'm probably gonna sleep in." But I woke up, like early as hell again. I had classes again starting at 8 o'clock. That show don't open until or maybe it's 8:30, something like that. And the classes didn't start till the event started at like 9. I think my class went over that. I think it went to like 9:30ish or something like that. I'm trying to remember all this stuff right. I think that's just right. But it worked out fine. I went to that next class, and the next class was from Kyle Daly, which is, I didn't know the guy at all. And quite honestly, if I hadn't heard, or KH Daly, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, this is KH Daly on this card. I didn't really know the guy or heard of him or anything like that. I only heard of him through Grumpy Grunt, and he talked so highly of him. I was like, I'm just gonna take the guy's class. Immediately, as soon as I go into class, he starts showing like he's got like a couple books he's selling and some tools he's selling. And as soon as I see the tools, I recognize the tools. So it's funny, I recognized the tool before I recognized the man, but the man who invented the tool obviously taught the class. So out of I had 3 classes I took, and all 3 classes, Kyle was definitely the most professional, most educational, most clear, just the best class overall. You could tell the dude took pride in what he was doing and refined it to a level that anybody in that class that had a question, didn't ask it, they're the only reason they didn't learn more, because they didn't ask the question. Because that was by far the best class. Like of all 3 that I took, by far the best class. Very professional. And basically his class was file work, so he gave us all this card. So it's basically showing the designs of and what he calls different work, and this is all 3D printed. So he gave these all to us, which I thought was cool as hell. And basically just gave a synopsis of what he did for file work. Now, as far as like me, because I'm not really into that style of file work, and I've used files my whole career as a machinist, so like I'm not new to files, so I kind of sort of already knew the avenue. It's basically like he laid it out so that if you didn't know how to lay out file work or anything like that, like I can't say that I've done any of the patterns he did, but after he explained them, I was like, that seems super easy to me. And like he just went over his method on how he does that, and then how he lays out like the pins for the handle, some of the epoxy and like techniques that he uses and that sort of thing. So mainly geared around fixed blades, mainly geared around making yourself faster at doing file work. Because I think if you did it all by hand, like with a real file, you could do any of these on any custom knife, no problem at all, with a little bit of thought. And that's pretty much the gist of it. But overall, the best class of the weekend. Real good class, well worth it. The problem with me was I scheduled this class when the event opened, which wasn't really a problem. It's just more like, the line's going to be gone, or at least way down before you even get out of the class, which was perfect for me. It absolutely worked out fine for me because I didn't have to go back around into the line. I just walked straight into the event from there. It was really like across a corridor. And I already had my 3-day pass, so if you were will called or general admission, you would have had to got back in that line and go through the other room first. So it worked out fine for me, but there was nothing I needed on that second day that I got to go straight to that booth and try to find kind of thing. It was, just taking it easy day 2 kind of thing. And I didn't buy a knife for a while on day 2, actually kind of towards the end. But my brother was supposed to meet me there, so I went in there, tooled around for a while. I bought some more hats, talked to some more people, maybe got a couple t-shirts. Some people started texting me that they were there, and I was like, okay, I'm waiting on my brother. I'll be back in a few minutes. So it took my brother like an hour to find a parking spot because he came, I don't know, after the event opened 10:30ish or something. It was almost 11:30 before he got in there. I was like, wow, man, like, it took you that long? And really, the parking attendant had pity on him. He just said, just sit here for a second, let a car come out, and then he'll let you in. So that's pretty much how he got a spot. So he got lucky even at that to find a spot. So I didn't realize that it got that crazy at that time of day. I thought it was better, and that's what I told him. Come in after the rush is gone, probably easier, but apparently it wasn't. But anyway, I went to a blade show maybe 2 or 3 years ago, might have been longer, with my brother. He enjoyed the hell out of it. He ended up buying a knife. He got a Red Horse Knife Works. What's the one that Dirt Warning likes? Is it the Hellraiser? I think it is the Hellraiser. But anyway, he had got one of those with brass scales without the engraving. They made some with engraving, but some dude's face on it. I can't remember who it is. Jeremy somewhere or other maybe. But he had got a plain one that they just basically hadn't engraved yet. And as he's walking around there, he's like, man, if I like the knife in my pocket better than I like the knife on the table, why would I buy the knife on the table? And I was like, valid point, man, valid point. But anyway, so the last blade show I had, he kind of gravitated towards swords and like some of the more crazier stuff because he's not really a knife guy. He just had fun. Just, like going to a flea market, you just kind of kick through stuff until you find something that kind of strikes your interest. That's kind of how he was at that one. But lucky enough, my middle brother ended up showing up there too. So I got hooked up. So Dan was there. I met up with Dan. Denise was there again. I actually saw quite a few people. Javon I saw up there. Pistol Pete. I can't remember if I saw Pistol on Saturday or Friday. I can't remember. Get those all. It's all kind of. I saw a bunch of cool people. Put it that way. A bunch of YouTubers, a bunch of other friends. But like, cool to meet anybody I met. Cool to hang out with everybody I got to hang out with, or just to say hey or anything like that. Like there's so many that you just it's overwhelming, right? But the highlight for me on day 2, if I'm being honest, is getting to hang with both my brothers, which, to even see both brothers at the same time is super rarity. And then to get to hang with both of them at a knife show was extra cool. So my youngest brother is more he's an artist. He does like a lot of pottery, that sort of thing. So he can get into and he does a little bit of where he teaches. They do a little of the blacksmith and stuff. So he knew one of the guys that had been on Forge and Fire that teaches at the class. I think the guy's Steven, but I can't remember his last name. But he knew Steven, so he wanted to go by and see him. More into the art stuff. My middle brother, the one that was into the swords, that dude could talk. You think I could talk? My middle brother could really talk, and like literally, he'd just pick up a knife and talk to the dude. And me and my youngest brother AJ would just leave him. like we'll find Vinny in a minute. We're just gonna go walking. We could walk 2 or 3 aisles, and then we'd see Vinny still talking. And he'd finally get done. We just wait in the aisle so he could see us, and then he'd jump 2 or 3 aisles and go down there and find someone else to talk to. And we do 2 or 3 more aisles with AJ. It was just funny. Like it's how it ended up working was pretty fun, pretty hilarious. But day 2 was awesome. So the pickups on day 2 were kind of more of the, like, I almost could have walked past these booths and not even seen them, which was kind of strange, but like, as my brothers, we were walking a little bit there, and I had another class, which sucked because I wanted to hang with my brothers more than I wanted to go to this class. So I kind of had a negative feeling about going to this class because I really wanted to stay with my brother, but they're like, no, dude, just go to the class. There was the what do you call it, the knife competition where they did the chopping the 2x4s and the straws and the rope and all that was happening like 30 minutes after I started the class, so it's kind of overlapping, and they wanted to go see that too. So I was like, all right, I'll go to the class, and then after the class I'll meet you out there, which is like 30 minutes after that started, and I think it was supposed to go for an hour and a half, something like that. So the next class I went to was sharpening class, and it was sponsored by, was this Work Tough? not work tough. Work sharp, right? Yeah, work sharp. Sorry, I can't even read. Yeah. Anyhow, so they gave us basically these as you walk in. They ask you if you have a knife you can sharpen, or you need one, kind of thing. And they had a few they pass around to kind of sort of show you. But this class, honestly, like from what I was talking to other people, sells out quicker than any other classes. And honestly, man, like if you watch a YouTube video, or if you've never sharpened anything before, and you can't figure it out from the video, it might have been beneficial for you. But if you watch YouTube videos and you kind of sort of figure that stuff out on yourself, how to sharpen, you weren't going to get a ton out of this class. It wasn't like it was revolutionary information they were giving you. It was the same stuff. And actually, one of the dudes that was instructor in the class was one of the dudes that's doing the videos that you can actually just go to YouTube and do. The only difference was they show a segment, kind of discuss it, ask you if you had questions, and move on to the next section. But 3/4 of this class was watching a YouTube video of the dude who was standing in a corner who could have done it live. So it was kind of a weird setup how they did it. The only thing I can say is watching the YouTube video, you get more of a close up of what he's actually doing. But like as far as like the actual class, like I'm not going to recommend this one to anybody who has any experience with sharpening. If you don't have any experience at all, or if you had questions that you can't find the right answers to, maybe the class would be good for you. But by far and large, like I thought that was kind of sort of, I wasn't trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be rude, and I'm not trying to be negative. It could have been because I wanted to hang with my brothers more, but as soon as I had an opportunity to leave that class, I just left. I went and met my brothers, and we watched the competition at that point. The competition was cool as shit. Like I didn't realize some of the rules that were in it. You know, watching some of those people compete, like there's definitely artistry to that. And like, you know, I've seen it in videos. I'm sure all you have seen at least clips of it in videos, but seeing it in person is a whole different ball game, man. And like the vibe of it, everybody's kind of for each other. It's not like they're really competing like I gotta win this one. I mean, maybe mentally or internally they might be, but like externally they root each other on, they help each other, everybody sets up. It was just a whole cool community kind of event. So we watched that for a little bit there, and then we walked back inside because it's starting to get a little bit on the, well, after you hang out for, you know, an hour outside or whatever it was that we were hanging outside, you know, it tends to get, you know, a little bit humid and hot, and you want to get some AC. Not hot like Arizona hot, but you know what I mean? Like, you'd rather be in somewhat climate controlled. Not that that was super climate controlled in there, but it wasn't anyhow. So we walked back inside, and as I'm walking around, I see Jimmy Slash at the Cold Steel booth again, so I asked him how he did. He's like, oh, I didn't compete. I was just out there bullshitting with people. And that's cool, so we started bullshitting about knives and stuff like that. And then he had to help somebody else, so another one of the Cold Steel guys came up there, and he was helping somebody else about the 80s, and he was talking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that limited edition. So for whatever reason, I didn't see it on the table, so I just asked about the limited edition, and he's like, oh yeah. And so, you know, immediately went to the other counter, grabbed one, kind of come over and hand it to me. We're kind of BSing there, and the guy beside me wanted one too. So he asked the guy, you want cash or credit? And the guy's like, credit. And he's like, okay, we can do that. So I can't remember what he quoted him, but it was more than what he quoted me when I said cash. And when I told him I didn't read receipt. So I got this for a steal of a deal. 2 reasons I bought this. Well, you say it with me. Full tie. Y'all know that. 3V. So limited edition 8010 with the full tie in 3V. So I pretty much had to, man. I think the Demco marking on this one, let's see if y'all can see it where it says Demco up here, it shows a little difference. I don't know if all the 8010s are saying that now or not. And the 3V was but the scales, like if you see the OG scales, the original goat scales and stuff like that, they're cool as shit, don't get me wrong, but they don't feel exactly, this one feels exactly to me like the G10 model, like the contours, the way they did it, just out of titanium. So it's definitely unique even compared to the OG. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I kind of expected somewhat of a difference, but man, this knife is just cool as shit. And so like immediately somebody's like, when you going to do the regrind on that one? I can't remember who asked me that, maybe Abbott or something, I can't remember. But honestly, man, I think I'm leaving this one alone. It's thin enough behind the edge for me. Like, I'm a bruiser guy, so like I don't need super slicey thin edge. I tend to overuse, especially in a cold steel. I'm going to overuse. But I don't know if you can tell from the action or not, otherwise I just failed it. But like, let's see if I can put my hand in there. Like out of the box, this thing is super slick. You know, some of the other ones you got to kind of break in a little bit, but man, no problem at all flicking it. Like, it's a super nice knife. But 3V is what sold me. And I think, was it Will that I was talking about, Midgard Mesker? I think it was Will that we had went by there that first day, and I'd seen a knife that kind of sort of struck my interest. I'm just going over knife purchases because my day's kind of all at this point, and I can't remember chronologically where everything kind of happened, so you get it all. But this one was another. So that's obviously Taiwan made. So if you keep track so far, one American made, one China made, one Taiwanese made. Just 3 nice purchases so far. So this 4th knife was the one that was kind of more of a shock to me. But when I went over and saw it the second time, I had to. It's PMP Alpha Prime, and I'm gonna put the picture of what it looked like stock right here. And then, as you all know me, like I can't leave nothing alone. As I got home, I went ahead and modified mine. So the first thing you'll probably see is this acid stonewash. You may or may not recognize that I changed the facet. So this did come out more of a, it's definitely more boxy squared like this. And you can see I kind of brought it down and kind of gave it a little bit of flare right there. I'm going quick, sorry. And also I cut a finger groove in it. So see, you see it. End mill groove right there. So basically I modified it. It's not even sharp yet, but the reason I bought this one, why'd you get drawn to that one? Because it's lighter, it's hollowed out scales, you know, holes in the blades, stuff that I'm really not super into. I don't know, it just felt good. And to sell it all, 3V. This shit's in 3V. I was like, you know, every time they make these, they make them in M390, 3V. So like, finally, someone's thinking about it. Yes, give me my bruiser steel. So yeah, the action and feel of this one, even though it's a lightweight knife, it still feels like a cool bruiser. It's got a real good feel to it, man. Like, I don't know, something about this one. So I snagged this one up. Obviously, I had planned on modifying it. As soon as I bought it, I was like, I know I'm modifying it, so it don't matter. But that was my next knife purchase. So I can't really remember the whole chronological how things went, but we were walking around my brother's. When I first met with my brother, and earlier that day, my first brother, my middle brother, when we walked in the event, the first right, there was a booth right to the right there, which was Zombie Tools, and immediately he was drawn to like those. Look at this thing. He's going through and looking at all these knives. So he wanted to go back and look at that one again because he's like, I can't buy the first knife I see. So I just go back over there, like. It's not an inexpensive knife, but it's not like hella expensive either. Because like you can go to these events and pick up a fixed blade and go, oh, that's a cool fixed blade. I wonder how much it is. And you look at it, you're like, you know, $5,000. Like, oh shit, let me put this thing down. You never really know until you look at the price tag, right? But these are more production style-y knives from Zombie Tools. If you're not familiar with Zombie Tools, highly recommend check them out. But we're talking to one of the dudes, and he's cool. You know, he's like, I don't even got to talk to any of my coworkers in an average day. Like even at lunchtime, I may or may not see them, but I just make knives. That's what I do for a living. So he was just kind of a cool attitude to have. Anyhow, cool dude. But the one in particular that my brother was drawn to, and myself too, I was drawn to several there. But you know, I'm not really a fixed blade kind of guy. But there's certain ones that call me, and like, you know, like the last one that I purchased was probably Scab's outdoor camping knife or whatever it was. Fireboards outdoor cooking or camping knife that Jed Hornbeak made. Jed wasn't there. At least as far as what I saw, maybe he was, I just didn't see him, but I never saw him. But anyway, the one that we were drawn to was called the Rat Bastard. And my brother's sitting there, and he's more rational than us knife nuts are. So he's like, you know, I can't see myself spending over $300 on a knife that's just basically going to be there to look cool. And so he was going to pass it up, and I straight up told him, I said, dude, if you don't buy it, I'm going to buy it because I know you'll enjoy it. And he's like, what are you buying for me? I was like, well, you can tell me. I'll buy it for me. And then, you know, we'll see what happens kind of thing. And he's like, I'm not going to buy it. So I just bought it. I kind of knew he would like it in the long run. So I bought it as a memento, if nothing else, because the three of us having a chance to sit down, and me and my two other brothers having to sit a chance, it kind of walk around. It's kind of a memento that reminded me of that. And I wanted to buy my youngest brother a knife too. He just was like, wasn't interested. He was like, dude, if you buy me something, I'm just going to lose it. So why? I was like, all right, that's fine. I get that rational. Like, he'd just rather have a razor knife in his pocket to do what he wants to do, and then if he loses it, he don't care. So I get that rational too. He just doesn't care. So hey, I'm not trying to force anybody into something. So that was pretty much the end of day 2. Walk out of there. I actually saw Ken on the way out again. Day 2, he looked pretty much beat down too, and he's zombied like after a whole day of this, because waking up super early and then doing this all day, you just spent, man. So it was cool to see Ken on day 2 too. But those are the 5 knives that I got. So I'll try to put a picture of that one I got from Vinny. It's called the Rat Bastard Zombie Tool, somewhere around here, so you can see it. I'll throw in a couple pictures that I didn't take any of these. So either people had sent me these, or my brother took them, or I don't know how I acquired them. But like, I didn't take any. I didn't go as a YouTuber. I went as an enthusiast. So you know, sorry. But that's pretty much the show. I didn't see a lot of the people I wanted to see. And kind of funny, one story on the post side of this things. So I ended up staying at my dad's, helping him do some work around the house. Me and my brothers did on Sunday, and then my other brother and I did on Monday, and then he had to go. So I left Tuesday morning. Got to the airport like super early, and I actually went to the wrong concourse, but I went there, got coffee, and I was kind of walking back because I had plenty of time. And off the train at the Atlanta airport, here comes Sharif. I've been looking for him all weekend, and then he just popped out. And I was like, what's the chances, man? So we sat there and bullshitted for a minute. Well, more than a minute, a good few, but which is awesome because I really was looking forward to meeting him. I thought he had a booth, and then once I found out he didn't have a booth, I was constantly looking for him, but we just never ran across each other. It's super easy to do at that show. That's that many people. But I got to see him at the airport. Funny enough, they had gate changed me, and I was at the wrong course, and he was at the wrong concourse. So like, what's the chances of that even happening? That just had to happen, right? It's a meant to be kind of thing. So I just got to see him on the way out there too. So. I'm over 50 minutes already, and I just been rambling. All right, well, I'm gonna stop this one and post this one. I'll do the knife one. I'm gonna get a little something to drink, but I'll do more of the in depth of the knife one in a minute after I edit this one. All right, later, y'all.